We're going to start our minion services in about 3 minutes. If you feel comfortable, we're going to ask you to move closer. But I also want to remind you that we are, in a way, in a house of mourning. We're in a house of Shiva. And when you are in a house of Shiva, the tradition is not to engage in chit-chat with the mourners. We ask, please, when you come up to the mourners, you can acknowledge, say hello, and then please go find your seat. And we're going to kind of keep the chit-chat and the conversation to a minimum to give the mourners a chance and a space to grieve. We'll start in about 2 more minutes. We'll ask you to please take your seat.
We're going to begin our afternoon service. It's found in your red prayer books in front of you. Even though those are prayer books for Shabbat, they have all of the appropriate prayers for the weekday as well. The afternoon service is found on page 289. Again, it's these prayer books that say Lev Shalem in front of you. Page 289, the afternoon service of Mincha. Asher Yoshe Veitecha Odi Halalu Chasela Hashem Shachal Hashem Shnei Lav David. Aramim Chaim Melech. Tilat L'nai Daber Pi V'Varech Asher Kodsha Le'olam Va'ed Ve'anachnu Nevarach Ya Ve'atave Ad Olam Hallelujah. We rise, page 290. 290. Yitgadal v'yikadash shemei Rabbah v'yalmad yivarach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chay l'chol beit Yisrael ba'agala v'zman kariv yimaru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mavorach le'olam u'me'el maya yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitram v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kudusha b'richu le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiram b'yalma v'yimaru. Amen. The afternoon Amidah, we continue out loud, page 291, out loud through the bottom of page 293. Baruch Ata Adonai Eloheinu v'Elohei Avoteinu Elohei Avraham Elohei Yitzchak v'Elohei Yaakov Elohei Sarah Elohei Rivka Elohei Rachel v'Elohei Leah Ha'el Hagadol Hagibor v'Hanora El Elyon Gomel chasadim tovim v'konei hakol v'zocher chastei avot u'mevi goel livnei v'neihem lema'an shemo b'yahava melech ozer u'fokedu Moshiach u'magen Baruch Ata Adonai Magen Avraham u'foked Sarah Ata gibor le'olam Adonai mechayei metim Ata rav lehoshia morid hatahal mechalkel chayim b'chesed Mechayei meitim barachamim rabim Somech noflim v'rofei cholim umatir asurim u'makayim emunato lishenei afar michamocha ba'al gevurot u'mido melach melech meito machayeh u'matmiach Yeshua v'ne'emanat halachayot meitim baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hametim. 293. Nekadesh et shimcha ba'olam, keshem shemagdishim oto b'shmei marom, kakatuv ayad neviecha v'karazeh el zeh v'yamar. Kadosh, 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 Adonai tzevaot, melech ol haaretz kevodoho, yomatam baruch yomeru. Baruch kavod Adonai mimkomo, u'v'divrei kodshecha katuv le'mor. Yimloch Adonai le'olam, Elohayich Sion, le'dor v'ador, hallelujah. L'devardor gigalech al netzach, netzachim, kedushatecha nagdish, v'shivchacha Eloheinu mipunu le'mushri lam voed, ki al melech gadol v'kadosh ata, baruch ata Adonai, ha'el ha'kadosh. We continue quietly on page 294 through page 299, either in Hebrew or English, or the prayers of your heart. If you have not concluded your Amidah, please continue at your own pace. We turn to page 300 for Kaddish Shalem, omitting the line beginning Tit Kabel in a service for morning. Page 300. Yid Kadal v'Yid Kadash Shemei Rabbah, v'Yamadi v'Rachir Te v'Yamlich Malchut Te v'Chayechon v'Yimechon v'Chay l'chol Beit Yisrael b'Galav Izman Kari v'Yimaru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam olam Maya. Yitbarach v'Yishabach v'Yipar v'Yitnar v'Yidnaseh v'Tadar v'Telev v'Talal Shemei Dekudesha v'Richu le'elam v'Kobrachat v'Shirata Tushchat v'Nechamata Nimram b'Yamav v'Yimaru. Amen. Yehi Shalom Rav Yishamaya v'Chayim aleinu v'Al Kol Yisrael v'Yimaru. Osei Shalom b'Mramav Huyasei Shalom aleinu v'Al Kol Yisrael v'Yimaru. Amen. 301. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol latei kedula liotzer breshit. Igoye haratzon velo samanu. Oh, thank you. Anachnu horim misharim modim lifnei. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא, יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו, This afternoon concludes the second day of Iyar and begins the third day of Iyar. We recall those yortzites will be observed. Mariam P. Dimsdale, Kanbaba Norman, Joseph Stein, Gershon Swirsky, Mary Temuri, Etta Weinberg, Dove Bagan, Mildred Bressler, Cecile Freeman, Stanley Greenfield, Rose Kravitz, David Nazarian, Jacob Naziri, Saul Rothstein. We also recall the recent passing of Parveen Tufer, and also the recent passing of Jonah Anschell. We turn to page 302, the words of the mourner's Kaddish, page 302. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'yalma, Divarach, Hirutei, V'yamlich Malchutei, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, V'chayei Dechol Beit Yisrael, V'agala, Uvizman Kari, V'maru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Leolam Ulomei Omaya. Yitbarach, V'yishtabach, V'yitpa'ar, V'yitromam, V'yitnaseh, V'yitadar, V'yitaleh, V'yithalal, Shemei Dekudisha, Barichu, La'ela, Minkol, Birchata, Vishirata, Tushbachata, V'nechemata, Damiran, B'yalma, V'maru, Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'maru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'asei shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'maru amen. We're going to remain standing for the evening service. We turn back to page 264. Page 264 for the Ma'ariv, the evening service. V'hu rachum yechaper v'lo yashchid v'hir ba'ala shirab hover chochmato Adonai Hashem elach yaneinu v'yom koreinu Baruch hu et Adonai hamvorach Baruch Adonai hamvorach leolam va'ohed. You may be seated in the middle of 264. El Chai v'kayam tamim l'chaleinu le'olam v'oeh Baruch atah Adonai ha'amariv aravim avat olam Beit Yisrael. V'yavat echad tzizrimenu le'olamim Baruch atah Adonai ohev amo Yisrael. 265, we recite the Shema together. Shema Yisrael Adonai Eloheinu Adonai Echad. Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meyodecha ve'hayu ha'devarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha ve'shinatam levanecha ve'dibaharta bam V'shiftecha b'veitecha, uvlechtecha v'aderech, uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha, u'kshartam liot ahal yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uv'isharecha. Top of page 266, we continue quietly to the bottom of the page. Leman tiskaru vasitem et kol mitzvotai v'hitem kadoshim lelohechem ahani Adonai Elohechem asher otzeiti etchem yeretz Mitzrayim liolachem leelohim ani Adonai Elohechem emet Adonai Elohechem emet. middle of 267. U'malchut Torah tzankilu aleihem Moshe u'Miriam v'nei Yisrael achanu shira b'simcha rabba v'amru chulam mi chamocha be'elim Adonai mi chamocha nedar b'kodesh norat tehilot osei fele malchut echaru v'anecha bo ken livnei Moshe zeli anu v'yamru Adonai imloch le'olam v'ohed v'nemar kivranat Yaakov v'galom nechazak mimenu baruch atah Adonai Ga'al Yisrael 267 bottom of the page. Ushmor tzeitain avoin l'chaim shalom et haviad olam baruch atah Adonai shomer amo Yisrael la'ad 268 through the middle of 269. Ki ha-malchut shachei olam et hamlach bechavod, ki elam echel ayata baruch atah Adonai, ha-melech b'chverotai minuch aleinu le'elam v'oed v'yal kol masahav. We rise middle of 269. Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'yamad yivarach yirutei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon v'yimechon v'chayduchol beit Yisrael v'agalav izman kariv v'meru amein. Yehei shmei rabbah mavorach le'olam amei maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpar v'yitmar v'yitnasei v'yitadar v'yitlevi talal shemei dekudusha brichu le'elam et kol brakata v'shirata tushakata v'nechemata dameiram b'yalma v'yimeru amein. We remain standing for the silent evening prayer of the Amidah, page 270 through page 278 in Hebrew or English or private thought, beginning on page 270. Page 280, Kaddish Shalem, page 280. Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah, v'yamad yivrach yirtei v'yamlich malchutei b'chayechon, v'yimechon v'chayduchol beit Yisrael, v'agalav izman kari v'yimeru, amen, yehei shmei rabbah mevorach, le'olam olamei almaya, yitbarach, yishtabach, yitbarach v'shavin nasei, v'tadar v'tlev v'tlalal shmei dekudesha, v'richu, le'elam and korachata v'shirata, t'shuchat nechamat, hadimeram v'yimeru, amen, yehei shalom rabin shamaya v'chayim aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'yimeru, amen. Osei shalom b'maramav, yosei shalom aleinu v'kol Yisrael v'yimeru. Amen. Because we are in between Passover and Shavuot, we count the Omer during the evening service. We turn back to page 63. Page 63 for the counting of the Omer. Last night was the 17th day. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu v'tzivanu, al sfirat ha'omer. Page 66 in the middle of the page. Hayom shmona asar yom shehem shnei shavot arba yamim la'omer. We turn forward to page 281 for the Aleinu, page 281. Aleinu l'shabeach ladon hakol, latei kedula. Shelo sam chelkeinu. Nachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech. Hu Eloheinu Eino, Kagatu b'toratecha Adonai mloch le'olam va'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai le'melech al kol ha'aretz v'yom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo. We ask those in mourning or observing a yard site to please remain standing, otherwise you may be seated. Page 282, the words of the mourner's Kaddish, page 282. Yitkadal, Yitkadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'yalma, Divarach, Yerutei, V'yamlich Malchutei, V'chayechon, V'yomechon, V'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, V'agala, Uvizman, Kari, V'meru, Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Leolam Olomei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Dekudisha Barichu La'ela Minkol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Da'amiram B'yalma V'yimaru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya V'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'asei shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru Amen. We turn to page 337. We're going to read in English together Psalm 23, the psalm that is traditionally chanted in the house of mourning. Please join me in the English on page 337, Psalm 23. Adonai is my shepherd, I shall not want. God lays me down in green pastures, leads me to still waters, renews my life, guides me in right paths, for that is God's way. Though I walk through a valley as dark as death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You spread a table before me in full view of my foes. You anoint my head with oil. My cup is overflowing. Only goodness and steadfast shall pursue me all the days of my life, and I dwell in the house of Adonai forever. On page 338, the recitation of the words of the mourner's Kaddish, page 338. Yitkadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divarach Yerutei v'yamlich Malchutei, v'chayechon v'yomechon v'chayei D'chol Beit Yisrael, Ba'agala uvizman kari v'yimaru Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Leolam Olomei Almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shemei Dekudisha Barichu La'ela Minkol Birchata V'shirata Tushbechata V'nechemata Da'amiram B'yalma V'yimaru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabbah Min Shemaya V'chaim aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'asei shalom aleinu v'yal kol Yisrael v'yimaru Amen. May God who brings peace unto heavens bring peace unto all those who mourn. And let us say, Amen. You may be seated. In a few moments, we're going to ask those who also wish to share memories and stories to please come up towards the front of the bima as we'll share these stories from here, so the Anschell family can also have them after we leave this evening on record. But I just want to share a story of about a decade ago, 10 years ago, when I arrived at Sinai Temple. They put me in a 4th grade classroom to teach trope. And while I knew trope, I didn't know anything about teaching. And in that classroom was Jonah Anschell. And I don't know if I learned anything about how to teach trope, but I remember Jonah's face when I walked in that classroom, of the empathy that he felt for me, of what was I about to do for the next 10 weeks. Very quickly I understood that if I was going to get anything done in that classroom, I had to convince Jonah Anschell to be on my team. And we did it together. Because some of those other students who were in 4th grade, I'm looking out in the congregation and I see your faces tonight as well. Because in reality, we all did it together with Jonah at the helm. And I know that while that makes us laugh and chuckle of those memories, I was looking through some of my emails between Jonathan and Abby over these last few years, and a few came to mind. The first was right in the beginning of the pandemic. Jonathan, you emailed me and asked for a Haggadah that you could use for a Zoom Seder for extended family. And we went back and forth, and you said, I really need a Haggadah that can not only say the words, but engage others, and most importantly, fulfill the mitzvah of telling the story. Telling our stories. That's why we're here this evening. And that's why we'll be here for the days and months and years to come together to tell Jonah's story. And just over a year ago in Barad Hall at Sarah's Bat Mitzvah, I had the honor of accompanying a beautiful chorus of Abby and her cousins as they sang the words, Vayivra Elohim, that each of us is made in that image of God. On Friday afternoon, when I came back to Sinai Temple, I taught a group of religious school students what it is to write a word of Torah, a Devar Torah. They were preparing for their bar mitzvah speeches. And every single year we use the same PowerPoint. And every single year we say the same thing. But this, just hours ago or days ago in Barad Hall, when we got to the PowerPoint page that showed what it is to look into the Chumash, I looked in the top of the page, and staring me in the face, it said Parshat Yitro, Jonah's bar mitzvah portion. It's not Parshat Yitro this week. It's not even close to Parshat Yitro. But when I opened and I shared Parshat Yitro with these students, Jonah's Torah was coming through. Jonah's stories were coming through. As Rabbi Wolpe taught us yesterday, the messages will be eternal. They will be sometimes in front of our eyes, and sometimes we'll have to look for them. But those stories of Jonah Anschell's Torah, they begin tonight, and that unfinished story continues day after day, month after month, year after year. Yehi Zichro Baruch. May Jonah Anschell's life continue to be a blessing for us all. And let us say, Amen. Sharona Nazarian will share, and if you wish to please come on up, and we'll be able to begin sharing memories.
Thank you, Rabbi. So first off, I'd like to offer our condolences from my family, but especially from Jonah, who sends his love. My Jonah is in Poland, and he can't stop thinking about you all. So I want to talk about the first time I met Jonah and the last time that I met Jonah. The first time that we met Jonah, and Abby will remember this, was when we were in Mommy and Me together. And as the parents were all talking about the days that their kids were born. I shared the day that my Jonah was born, and we spoke a little further. And it turned out that Jonah Anschell was born on the exact same day, at the exact same hospital, by the same doctor, 2 hours apart from my son, who's also named Jonah. And so their friendship began, starting Mommy and me. And they just started to have a wonderful relationship. And little baby Jonah was always so full of life, so witty, great sense of humor, truly a brilliant, brilliant young man. And he was so caring and ready to serve. And he was especially ready to serve his community. And as time passed, our kids went to different schools, but then they came together again when they joined the Beverly Hills Police Explorers program, which was a passion for both of our sons. And I don't know if I shared this with you, but I actually saw Jonah on the day that he passed. There was an event at the city, and he was being honored. As always, whenever I would see Jonah at city events, I would always go up to him and give him a huge hug and just tell him how grateful we were and proud, and tell him the great job that he was doing, because his passion was truly serving the community as an explorer. And he would grin, and on the day of the promotion, he got a promotion to the highest level as an explorer, and he was incredibly proud. And I just want to share with you that on behalf of our city, on behalf of our mayor, on behalf of myself and all of my colleagues, and also the entire police department, we share in your loss. We offer our warmest condolences. On the day of Jonah's services, we had almost the entire police force come to pay their respects. And they all just wanted to be there to show their love and respect and truly honor the two of you, as well as Sarah. So, Abby and John, my dear friends, I want you to know that you are part of our Sinai family. We know that Jonah was a superstar, and you guys did an amazing job of raising him. But you're not alone. We are a strong community. So many people have reached out, and we all want to be here for you. We share in your loss, my dear friends. We are here for you. May God give you strength, and may Jonah's blessing be a memory. I love you. And Jonah just landed in Israel, and he wanted to also share a few words. So with your permission. There are so many aspects that I could share about Jonah. The first that comes to mind is that his leadership. I had the privilege of seeing Jonah grow up and evolve his entire life, all the way from a child on the schoolyard to now. He transformed into a strong leader who was compassionate and able to teach without embarrassing others. At his core, however, he was still the same boy I met as an infant, an excited, loud, smiley boy who wanted to help as many people in the world as possible. Whether it was through laughs or a very well-placed tourniquet, Jonah had the ability to help people when they needed it most. I feel honored to have had him as my lieutenant, friend, mentor, and most of all, to share a birthday and a name with one of the most pure souls I've ever met. By pure soul, I mean Jonah never changed for anyone. If they didn't like who he was, that sucked for them. Because Jonah was unapologetically Jonah, and I will forever love him and carry him in my heart because of that. Thank you.
Hi, guys. I'm here to share a story, but also to encourage other people to share their stories because there are so many. I can tell you, at the March of the Living trip, there are a number of people who watched the funeral on Zoom, a number of children who were peers and friends, and afterwards they went around the room, Abby and John, and they spoke about Jonah and his impact. And I'm going to let some of the parents in the room share what their kids said. If they don't, I will tell you in private, but what I can tell you, what I can summarize, is that he was magnanimous, and could actually pronounce that word, probably. He would never look down on someone for not knowing the amazing, brilliant things that he knew. He would just share, and he would teach. And he did it, I'm sorry. He was also, this story just came to me, there was overnight, I don't remember the details, Zev had his guitar, but he forgot his tuner. And I said to him later, "How did you tune your guitar?" And he said, "I just asked Jonah to listen to it while I tuned it, because among his many incredible superpowers, he had perfect pitch." Wow. I don't know what else to say. I hope people come up and share, because we love you, and the world lost something very big, and I am so sorry. So please come up and share your stories. I see as teachers, I see as peers. Don't be shy. This is the time to share.
Hi, John. Abby, Sarah. Three summers ago, I got the opportunity to be very close to Jonah. I invited him to work with me and my people in a construction job because that's what Jonah likes to do. And I had the honor to really know him and to really understand him. And I was sitting and reflecting on Thursday night, and you study and learn from every person. And what I really loved about Jonah is his enthusiasm. I remember him coming to work with his big steps, running almost, smiling. And the other thing is so humble working with other people that are not as privileged as him, and looking at everybody in the same level. So excited sometimes that, I shared with those people that are working for me, and they knew Jonah. And I told them about what happened in the last few days, and they all remember him. They all remember how nice and how sincere and how honest he was. And I miss him dearly. I'm going through my phone, looking at text messages, looking at pictures, and I really miss him. I had the opportunity again 2 weeks ago to have him in my house for second Seder, and he was so happy, and he didn't show any signs of worrying or having problems. And, that's how I want to remember him, happy, smiling. We played the game, and he was so excited. And that's the Jonah that I want to remember, and I'm going to miss him a lot.
We welcome, if there's anyone else who would, yeah, Robin, you want to share? Okay.
On Friday, Rabbi Guzik mentioned that one of the great stories, one of the 1,000 great stories about Jonah returning the piece that he took from our swing set. But what my John said about that was, yes, that was because Jonah wanted to do the right thing, but why did he want to do the right thing? It's because you guys are such good parents that he knew the right thing to do. And he knew to say he was sorry and make it right. And from the soft, squishy, big smile, blue-eyed, wonderful little toddler, and then welcoming Sarah, parenting with you has been the most significant privilege that I can imagine. Your judgment, your caring, your love made us better parents. And I remembered that that's why we put you in our will to get our kids, because there are no better, finer people in this whole world. I trust you with everything, and I always will, and I love you. And from that sweet, soft, smiley, blue-eyed, beautiful little thing grew a strong, wonderful young man who should have been here longer. But not a day will go by that I don't think of him and love him. I will carry with him always. And I want to thank you for helping me be a better parent, for being my sister when I needed a sister, for being my brother, for helping me raise my kids. I love you, I admire you, and I am always here for you every single day, forever, and I love you.
My name's Matt Nako. I'm an alumni of Sinai Cube Academy, and like everyone here, I want to offer my deepest condolences to the Anschell family. My earliest memories of Jonah were of him helping everybody in our math class in Sinai, and even though I hadn't seen Jonah in a while, after he went to Harvard Westlake, I remember it was about 2 years ago, and I was with other Sinai graduates, Jonathan and Joshua Bruckham, and it had been a good minute since I'd seen Jonah, but we all went mountain biking together, and there was a point, and it was like 5 or 6 o'clock, and it was about to get dark, and we started to get lost, and miraculously Jonah found us a way out, and we got back on the road, and it just reminded me of the leadership and the light that he was guiding others, and it's just something that I'll always remember and respect about him. And even though there's many people that might not come to mind when you think about Jonah or the people around him, there's so many people out there that are here for you guys and are going to remember Jonah in the best light. So thank you.
So there was one time right before Purim And Abby suggested that she come over and bake hamantaschen with our family. And everyone who knows me knows I'm not a cook and I'm not a baker, but I thought that was a great idea for her kids to come over and we would do this together. And she brought all the ingredients, everything was perfect, except my kids take after me when it comes to baking, and our boys couldn't get the dough formed correctly so that the filling stayed in. And at first, Abby wanted to help them, but instead, Jonah went over and he helped both my boys to form the dough so that their hamantaschen would be right. And he didn't do it in a way that made my boys feel embarrassed that they couldn't bake. Instead, he did it with kindness and confidence, and it was one of the most beautiful things that I've witnessed in terms of just being kind. And we heard that echoed today where he was a leader, and he had so many gifts, but he shared those gifts with others. And that was just one of the stories that stuck out for me, because my boys, every time the holiday comes around, they remember that Jonah taught them how to make hamantaschen. I'm so, so sorry for your loss, and we are here, and we love you, and we will support you. And may his memory be a blessing always.
Hi, guys. I just wanted to share with you what's in my mind right now, and my memories of Jonah. You know, Jonah was a boy. You know, that kid was a boy, and anyone that has a son, you understand when they're born, they love trucks and they love dirt, and everybody with a boy has been up at 5 o'clock in the morning, and you wait in the window for the garbage truck to come, and that's just the way that it is. And then the kids move on to other things. But Jonah, no, that was his thing, and he kept it up. And I have a son who's younger, so my daughter Sydney and Jonah were closer in age, and then Sarah and Jack were the same age, and we shared many, many, many great times with you guys, and we had New Year's together and our Seders together, and I remember watching him grow up. And Sydney and Jonah were tight, but, you know, boys will be boys, and Jonah was wonderful to my son Jack, and Jack thought he was so cool and really looked up to him. And when we all talked about Jonah the other night, the first thing that he said was, Jonah was the most genuine person that I've ever known. And that was just absolutely right. That kid knew what he wanted, and he made it happen. And I just wanted you guys to know that as adults, you can look at a child and you can see how they are, but my son, who's 14, also knew that, always. And he was always kind to him, and when they played video games, he just taught him. He just said, do this, do this, do this. He was a great leader, he was a great teacher, and he was always kind to him. So I'll always remember him like that, and I love you guys, and always will, and will always be here. And that's Jonah.
We will continue to have Shiva services throughout the week, and we very much encourage you, if you have a story or a memory and an anecdote to share, to come back throughout the week through Wednesday, 5:45 p.m. I'd just like to conclude the evening with one more story. As I was going through my notes of Jonah throughout the past few days, I have a file for each kid, just so you know. And I was going through our notes together, and I had certain words in bold, and he and I, years ago, were speaking about what makes a leader. What's the essence of a leader? And for some reason, in bold, I had, these are Jonah's words, a leader does not overstay their welcome. And I asked him to speak a little bit more about that, and he said to me, a leader understands. You share what you have to share, and then you don't pretend to be someone else. Then it's time to leave the conversation. And we spoke a little bit more about that, different examples. And then I had a chance to see Jonah in action at Sarah's bat mitzvah. And at Sarah's bat mitzvah, I looked at Jonah and asked him if he wanted to come up and lead one of the prayers. And Jonah, like this, no, no. But he also said later to me, this is Sarah's day. It's Sarah's time to shine. And I take that to heart because it's something that I think he teaches all of us, that a true leader understands the ability to make space for others. That's what I think he meant by overstaying your welcome, that when you're in a conversation with someone else, it's not always about you, it's making space for someone else to share their story and share their voice. And so I will take Jonah's message to heart, that sometimes the best leader is one that allows someone else to share their story, someone else to shine. And so it's Jonah's voice that will continue to carry, I believe, each and every one of us. May his memory continue to be a blessing. May we hear his voice. Amen. I'm going to ask everyone, as we officially conclude this evening, to rise for the ancient words of comfort. Please join with me. Hamakom yinachem etchem betoch she'ar avalei Tzion v'Yerushalayim. May God comfort you together with all mourners of Zion and Jerusalem. Amen. We invite those who would like to stay for our Suda for the meal following in Barad Hall. We invite you to come and join us for the meal. And again, please hear my words that I said at the beginning of the Shiva. When you greet the mourner, acknowledge the mourners, acknowledge John and Abby and Sarah, but please let's keep our conversation to a minimum to give them the space to grieve. Thank you, everyone.